We now turn to preview the Minnesota Vikings, who I guess are going to win the Super Bowl. They just can't stop winning games, and they're 11-2, and Sam Darnold's better than Patrick Mahomes. Might as well go there. Alec Lewis from The Athletic is with us. And Nick, you two have done the mobile thing. You Mobile, Alabama, hanging out. So I'm going to let you have the first question, since you guys have, I don't know, done things late at night that I haven't done with either of you guys. I mean that in a weird but yet just hang out way. You know what I'm saying?
What a great intro. But yes, Mobile, Alabama, you're out there early mornings, late nights, kind of doing your thing. But, Alec does such a great job just covering the Vikings. So we had to bring him on to talk about, this matchup here. And Alec, I'll share a little quick fact with you. Since October 13th, the Bears have gone 0-7, while the Vikings have gone 6-2. Just from your perspective, what has it been like covering this Vikings team? Because Mark and I know what it's been like covering this Bears team.
Yeah, I don't want to make the listeners feel worse than they probably already do, but it's been an absolute blast. I mean, this is why, I was telling somebody yesterday, this is why you do the job. And I know, obviously we don't root for these teams. It is big journalism. You know how it goes. It is what it is. But when things are going well, and especially when they're going as well as they are without the expectations that they were going to go this well, and the fans are having fun and the readership is there, and the players are easier to talk to. It's so fun. I mean, I will never, regardless of how this season ends, I will never probably forget the moment at the end of Sunday's game at US Bank Stadium against the Falcons, which was an absolute rout against Kirk Cousins and their former quarterback. And the camera operator was just panning to all these different people. It was like Sam Darnold, who's waving a towel. It's Justin Jefferson, who was making faces at the camera. It was just it was like a party at US Bank Stadium, and almost like a moment that was emblematic of just the celebration that has been this year, where you entered with very little expectations.
So how would you underline what exactly has happened with the Vikings this year? I mean, Darnold's, his last 3 games, he's got 11 touchdowns, no interceptions. And Jordan Addison's all of a sudden taking off. When we saw him a couple of weeks ago, he hadn't, the most yards he had in the game was 72. Now he's been over $150, $160 twice. But there's got to be a lot more to it as to how Minnesota's done this year.
Yeah, to me, it probably starts with, once Kirk Cousins and Danielle Hunter departed in free agency, this team had some money to spend at that time. And I'd say Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator, and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, credit can be dispersed however they want to disperse it. But they targeted some very specific players for their defense in free agency. They acquired Jonathan Grenard, who has been an incredible edge rusher for them, Andrew Van Ginkel, who has also been unbelievable. Blake Cashman at off-ball linebacker has done a great job constricting space. They signed cornerback Stephon Gilmore, Shaq Griffin, Jihad Ward on the front. I believe, in a span of 3 days, it was 8 defenders that were all going to play meaningful snaps. And most of those guys have not only performed, but they're performing way beyond the valuation of what they paid them. And so that's really where I start. I mean, the defense and how much better it's been with the personnel this year has just raised the floor of this team. And then, I mean, I don't think you could have this conversation without talking about Kevin O'Connell and just how intentional he's been since he got here about building the right culture that is authentic to him, and not trying to build from a head coach's perspective what I think we all not projecting any narrative of what it should look like. He just did what he felt like was authentic to him in a way where he's really understanding of what players need. And so to me, it really starts with those guys, and then it funnels down to Justin Jefferson's ability to play within a team and care about his team. And there are just a lot of factors at play, but the improved defense, they rank in the top 5 in most every metric. And that's just been massive, especially early in the season when the offense was not humming the way it is now.
Alec, I mean, you talk about all the additions on defense. Obviously, the season Sam Darnold has had, what Justin Jefferson's been able to do, and Jordan Addison. What has been the most impressive thing about this 2024 version of the Minnesota Vikings?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say of late, it's been Sam Darnold's play in moments that are high leverage moments. I mean, early in the year, the Vikings, I mean, the format of how they were winning games was pretty similar. They would get up on the opposing team pretty quickly. It would be 10-0 at the end of the first quarter, 17-0. And so it felt like Sam Darnold in this offense was just playing downhill throughout the entire game. I'd say over the last 3 weeks, and it started in Chicago when they almost blew that game somehow, some way. Sam Darnold went 6 for 6 in overtime. And I almost felt like that moment and him seeing himself perform the way he did in that moment was almost like a checkpoint for him of like, I can do this when the leverage necessitates me doing it. And the next week against Arizona, I mean, the Vikings were they were not in control of the game throughout the entire game, but I think they were down 19-6 in the third and late in the third quarter. He charted them back. And then this past week against Atlanta, I mean, it was just a tour de force of pocket movement, of accuracy down the field, of big-time arm talent. So, like, I would say I have gotten the question 77,000 times this year of, like, when is Sam Darnold going to become Sam Darnold who he always was? And I always laughed at that because I'm like, when is Sam Darnold just all of a sudden going to have Adam Gase now as his coach again and Quincy Enunwa as his top receiver again and an offensive line that was not built very well? And that's not shots at anybody. It's just the reality of the infrastructure here. And so, like, I always felt like he would be better probably than the narrative was. But of late, the impressive part is he has gone above and beyond, I think, what I thought and probably what anybody internally would have even envisioned.
I mean, I hear you. Way better circumstance, all that. But the dude's 27 years old. He ain't 35. And I know that, you know, JJ McCarthy's waiting in the wings. What do you think the Vikings do? I mean, I don't understand it. Like, yeah, we'll just replace it. I mean, dude, he's been incredible. Why would you get rid of him?
Yeah, it's been the question of the week over here, and it's funny because some people are like, why can't we just enjoy this? We have to already go to the future, and I'm like, guys, this is the psychology not only of media and how we operate, but also U.S. fans. That's how it works. I mean, to your point, like it becomes a very interesting question, and I start with, let's see how he finishes the season. I mean, that will dictate not only the Vikings' view, but also his overall market. If Sam Darnold, if somehow I am exhausted covering in New Orleans at the Super Bowl and beyond belief, I will be running on adrenaline and coffee only, then it's going to be hard for the Vikings to do anything but bring him back. I'd say, like, you guys know this just as well as I do because you're around the league. Like, paying a quarterback in that middle class amount of money makes it very hard to build a championship caliber team. Detroit is doing it kind of right now with Jared Goff. They've drafted so unbelievably that it's covered a lot of holes that they don't have to fill in free agency. The Cincinnati Bengals, even, you've seen what happened when they went from a rookie quarterback contract with Joe Burrow to now having to pay Joe Burrow what they do. And I think Joe Burrow is phenomenal, but it handicaps you with your entire roster build when you pay a quarterback a certain amount of money. So the Vikings will have levers they can pull. They're going to have the franchise tag if they want to use it. That would inject some turbulence into what has been a perfect relationship. So it'll be very interesting to see. You mentioned JJ. Like, every sign that I hear is that his health is kind of on the right path. But that's a bar that they're going to have to clear to be able to feel comfortable. So it has been the question of the week. I wrote a 1,500 word thing about it, and it was almost like me dipping my foot in the water probably for the conversation we might have.
Alec, I think we can't, talk to you without not mentioning and going in depth about Brian Flores. As you know, the Bears are going to be looking for a new head coach. Maybe it's a guy that the Bears consider, but you've been around Brian Flores. You see the impact he's had on that defense, what he looks for in his defensive players. What can you tell our listeners about Brian Flores and what he can bring to an organization?
Yeah. Brian Flores, I mean, the job he's done in 2 years here on defense is, I'm like, based off merit, I can't imagine there's been a coordinator who's been more effective in terms of maximizing the talent that he has. And not only maximizing, but, like, I think the thing with Brian Flores that I would want to get across is it's not just like calling the defense on Sunday. It's not just teaching technique during the week. It is this overarching vision of this is the way I want to play defense. These are the players that best fit my system. And then when they arrive in the building, evaluating how they look and then moving forward from that. Okay, I'm going to put guys in the best apps. Like every coach says it all the time. You hear it every press conference. We're going to put our best players in the best position to be successful. Brian Flores actually knows what the players do well and what they don't do well, to the point that he legitimately, that's how he operates defense. Now, I will tell you, like, he's an intimidating guy. He walks up to practice after everyone else, and it feels like he's ready for violence every single day. That's the way he is. You guys know. I mean, obviously there is the lawsuit at play, and then there is his past in Miami. But from a like I said at the top, from a merit in terms of what he's done here and what he deserves, I mean, I really can't give him enough praise for the vision of guys like Andrew Van Ginkel, Jonathan Grenard, fitting his system, making that happen, and then producing with those guys in the system the way that they have. It's been incredible to watch.
Do you know where that lawsuit sits right now?
I really don't. You know, you guys know this. You talk to people around the league. You hear certain things at times. I had a conversation with a coaching agent probably a month and a half ago, and it made me think a certain. But that type of stuff is, I don't know. There's only so far you can push, as you guys know. Yeah.
All right. Let's just move, because there's at least 3 Bears fans out there that care about this particular game. Maybe it's just, from a gambling perspective. Look, the Bears can't run the ball, but the Vikings can't stop the run. And Caleb threw for 340 with a couple of touchdowns against Minnesota last time. If you're the Bears, how are you trying to win this game?
Yeah, I mean, I would try to see if you could run from the beginning. I mean, the Vikings have not had Ivan Pace Jr., the off-ball linebacker, who is kind of like a I compare him to like Bullet Bill in Mario Kart. He's just like everywhere. I don't really know like how he gets to where he does, but he does. And so I think trying to run with the success Arizona and the Falcons had these last 2 weeks, that would be where I'd start. And then, I mean, I defensively right now in trying to stop the Vikings, it is a puzzle that I feel for defensive coordinators, because the way that Jordan Addison is playing, like I looked this up yesterday. Next Gen Stats tracks like route running speed. He is running routes at a faster pace than anybody, including Tyreek Hill. It's just, he is at a level right now that makes it really hard when you double Justin Jefferson. And then if you want to cover both of those guys with 2 defenders, TJ Hockenson can feast underneath. So for the Bears, I mean, it feels like it's Caleb hero ball and then penetrate the interior of the Vikings offensive line defensively, and turnovers, creating turnovers in whatever capacity is probably the route here.
The old hope for a miracle. All right, sweet. Kevin O'Connell 4-1 against the Bears. Okay. Hey, Alec, fill the blank. I don't know how well you know this part of it, but like the people, Minnesota Vikings fans think what of Kevin Warren? Like, do they even remember who he is? Is there any thoughts about him whatsoever? Because, obviously he built that stadium up there, Alec. You wouldn't have that without Kevin, damn it.
Great stadium.
That's a little before my time. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I'd say my perception is like he's on it. He's on top of it. He kind of knows what he's doing. I know that it sounds like there's like a lot of optics involved as well. That's just me talking. I don't know Kevin at all, so I don't want to. I really, it's probably not fair for me to say, but I mean, I know the stadium's beautiful. So if he builds a stadium that looks like the one here, that'll be good. But the coaching hire seems to be pretty important, and he should probably get it right.
He probably should, yes. Nick, anything else for Alex?
No, but I mean, we didn't even get. I mean, there's so much we could still get into with Alec. His fascination with Jimmy John's is one thing. I've definitely heard about that on all the podcasts. But no, I appreciate you coming on, Alec. And if for anybody who wants to get their Vikings coverage, you can follow him at The Athletic and also the Alec Lewis Show. Been listening to the past 2 episodes. You do a great job over there, man.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you for having me. Stay strong. My buddy Kevin Fishbane, I was texting pretty recently, and he's talking about off-season play. I'm like, I feel for you guys. It's gotta, like, I will say, I know the Vikings internally that they don't say this publicly, but their thoughts about Caleb are through the roof. So that's good.
And Fishbane really is just focused on the Wildcats and the Golden Gophers and getting a win there and getting back to the tournament for a third straight year. So
you're exactly right. Yeah.
Thank
you guys.
Thanks, Alec. Appreciate it.
We all silly like the mayor.